Welcome to episode 265 of Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. You're watching the Stargate Oral History Project, and I have the pleasure of being joined in this episode by Christina Cox. You know her in Stargate as Takaya, Lieutenant Kershaw, and Major Ann Teldy of Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. Christina, what do you think of my outfit?
I think it's fantastic.
So this is...
oh my God, where did you get this?
So I worked at PropWorks, who was selling off the Defying Gravity merchandise. It's a little tight on me because I've gotten kind of fat. But this is one of the original tracksuits from the show.
Yes.
So this here is...
ISO.
International Space Organization. And if you have not seen this series, folks,
Where?
look!
There, I'll just put it there for the
mission patch.
You have more than I do. Look, this is it. This is what I have. I have this, and I have a sweatshirt. Like a cast and crew sweatshirt. So that's pretty dope.
Would you like some props?
Like which props?
I'll email you a couple of things afterwards that I bought along the side. I got some duplicates of things, and I'm gonna send you some.
I realized that I hadn't been aware of those prop sales until a fan who became a friend, because he's also a photographer and we trade photography deets with each other. He ended up buying some of my stuff because I was like, I don't want that out there. That was what?
Oh.
It was like a swimsuit or something.
Oh, yeah.
So he bought it for me and he burned it. He filmed me him burning it so that I knew it hadn't gone anywhere. I was like, okay. I would have loved one of those tracksuits though. They were great. And you know the white astronaut suits?
Mm-hmm.
The workmanship that went into building those was out of this world.
They were used in other shows. I know that.
Stop it.
Especially with the thruster pack, and everything else. Because by the time that we got them in at PropWorks, they had been used by someone else, I think. But yeah, no, it's absolutely. If you want this, I will give this to you. I've had it for a number of years. If it would mean that much to you, I would be happy to send it.
We'll talk about it. Yeah,
absolutely.
I've digressed already, so this is a sign of things to come.
Well, you know what? This is how you get to know someone. And whew, yeah.
Is it a little hot?
It's a little toasty.
Synthetic? A little synthetic? Do you want to take that bad boy off? Just put it in an envelope. And...
Take it all off, David. I am really delighted to have you. You have always been one of my favorites in the franchise. And to be frank, it's disappointing that we didn't have you in more shows. I think had season 6 returned, I think Joseph Malazzi has made it pretty clear that we were going to have the team back. But I want to go back a little bit further. I want to know how you got the acting bug, how old you were, and what made you fall into this thing and thinking that, that this would be a thing for you.
Well, so it's kind of twofold. One, I'm the littlest of 3 sisters, so it was like a constant like, I'm over here, so vying for attention came with the job of being the youngest sister. My middle sister was into all things arts and I revered her, and so I thought if I did something cool that she did, she would want to hang out with me. It didn't work. When your sister's in high school and you're in middle school or even grade school, it's like, no. So I was an aspiring gymnast when I was a kid, and I was okay. And but I had a hip injury that was not getting any better. And back when I was doing gymnastics, there were no alternative therapies there was no physio, there was no understanding of it. It was like, go on the cement floor and do it or shut up, and it didn't age well. So I'm transferred into dance, which I love and still do. And I auditioned for Canterbury High School in Ottawa, which was where my family was living at the time, for the dance program. because I was super duper shy and did not want to speak in front of anyone whatsoever. I wanted to do gymnastics, or I wanted to dance.
You're still being artistic. You're still
Absolutely.
speaking. You're still communicating.
Yes, 100%. Sometimes I think more effectively than with words.
Right.
And while I was there, they asked me, I was talking with them, they're like, "Are you sure you don't want to also audition for the theater program?" And I said, "Why? I have no experience whatsoever." And they said, "That doesn't, at this stage, that doesn't matter. That's what we're here for. So go learn this monologue and come back and do it." So I did, and they said, we want to offer you a double major if you want to come here. Yeah.
And this is high school.
This was high school. This was for grade 9.
Wow.
So I talked to my parents about it, and they made a decision that this place was too far, and it wasn't in their schedules to be able to drive me there. And so I went to a regular high school. Boy, I made them regret that decision. I was not a very good kid in grade 9. And just skipping classes because I was bored. Like, I was still basically a straight A student, but I was bored. And so I just phoned it in. And then we moved to the Toronto area, and I said, "I will be a great teenager if you find an arts program for me, because I'm going out of my mind." And at the time, York University was just starting up this pilot project at Unionville High School in Unionville. It's an apt name. And they had a music program, they had a dance program, they had a theater program, and a visual arts program. And so I auditioned for both, knowing now that this was an option, and got in. And so I did theater, and I only did the modern and contemporary part of the program because I didn't have a ballet background, because I had gone straight for gymnastics into just whatever, jazz. So it also didn't fit in the schedule. So I don't have a solid ballet foundation, but I did do modern and contemporary and Broadway and all of that, as well as the theater program. And then I think in grade 12, I had to drop the dance because my hip was becoming such an issue, and I just did theater. And then for fun, our theater, this is I'm telling you a really long story here, way too many
Please, no, I'll
so
stop you.
we had an opportunity, I've got, of course, a cat hair on my face. We had an opportunity to have real auditions for the Canadian Stage Company, because we were season ticket holders, and they knew we were from an art school and that we were working at, hoping to become working actors. So as an exercise, they let us come in and audition for the Dream in High Park, which is the Stage Company's yearly summer live in the park Shakespeare. And well, me and myself and one other person from my class, we got the job. They weren't expecting to hire anyone, but they hired the two of us for all of the smaller roles and part of the chorus and all of that. And it was an amazing experience. And we did that 2 summers in a row. And then I went to Rye High and left after 2 years, and have been working pretty much in TV and film ever since. Like, I had been doing guest stars and whatnot through high school, and the odd commercial here and there, and a Gatorade commercial.
So you were exposed to the lens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just went from there, and haven't really done theater. I had my first theater audition in 30 years a couple months ago, and that was nerve-wracking on a whole other level. But yeah, that's how it started.
I imagine it's quite the transformation that you can see from 30 years ago to now with Zoom and all this. Was the theater audition in person?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, good. Wow. Yeah.
I will. A friend of mine, Tony Napo, he has an acting class in town, and I've gone in twice to act as a reader and offer a female perspective of the business and my thoughts and insight that I've accumulated. And I feel really sad for actors that are coming up now that have never had an audition in person to connect with another person And there are casting directors who have never been in an audition room. And I feel really grateful to be what now feels like the last generation that could, like when I was auditioning here in the 90s and so many things were happening in Toronto in the 90s, it was all in person. Like the idea of putting something on tape, there's the famous story of Scott Speedman sending in his tape for Batman from the City TV speaker's corner because nobody had a video camera, right? And you would go in a room and it didn't matter who they had in mind in LA, and they had seen people in LA and or New York or wherever. But you could go in a room and the writer was there, and the director was there, and the producers were there, and a casting director who had some impact on the choices was there. And you could go in and nail it, and you could feel the energy in the room shift.
Right.
And you'd be, I think I might have gotten that. And that in and of itself was such an experience. And the directors got to see if you could take notes, if you could adjust, or if you were a one-trick pony. And if that was the trick they wanted, that was great. But if you couldn't, you couldn't work nuance or tweak the performance or give them something completely different, it was like a work session, which you don't get now. And kids today, they really, I don't know. I'm not a fan of self-tapes because I won't be by myself on set. I will be working with another actor.
That's
I will
correct.
Be on set in the room with them, and we will hopefully have an exchange of energy and emotion that, plays in and changes the direction of the scene. And that's really hard to do in your living room with your cat scratching on the door and, your beleaguered husband reading for you for the 50,000th time. So it's it feels like a totally different thing. Like it's a completely different skill set. And I know people that are great at it. I crave the connection. So it's a thing for me.
I had Rachel Luttrell and Tori Higginson on a few weeks ago, and they were talking about when you record a tape, it's 8 to 10 hours of prep work. Often. Mm-hmm. You have 10 million ways that you can interpret this role. Mm-hmm. And you don't get to demonstrate, like you said, that you can take a note and pivot. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly what Tori said and Rachel said. And on top of that, they often look at just the first 20 seconds that you send in. Yeah. And they do not often send now even a thank you so much.
No, you don't even know if you...
It's just a void.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just sending off all your heart and soul off into the abyss. It's really... It makes it really challenging because one, you might have an interesting take on it, but it might not be the take that they wanted, but then they think you totally misunderstood the material.
How do you know? You can't ask for adjustments.
No, and they can't, in their defense, they can't give feedback because now they can accept 2,000 tapes. When you ran a session, you had to cherry pick your first maybe 20, 25 people. And, some will say that makes it really hard for an up-and-comer to get in the room, but it makes you earn your keep because you have to be really good and you have to work your way up. And you can have an actor who is really great in the comfort of their living room, but I think, how do they know how to hit their marks? How do they know how to find the lens? How do they understand when camera's going to a screamer? Like, they don't understand what that means and how they have to modify their performance because everything they're doing, they're learning in this little safe little bubble. And that's a big shock to step on set. And yeah, I don't envy this next generation, but hey, why worry? We're all going to be replaced by AI anyways.
Jeez. It's like Simone with, I forget the actor, but, man, yeah, just absolutely, this is, we all got to hang on. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm super grateful to the amount of amazing experiences that I've had on set and the friends that I've made and yeah.
Can you give me an example of a role that hit you deeply in ways that you didn't anticipate, or maybe you connected with the material immediately, but pushed you in ways that you didn't anticipate or challenged you in ways that you thought were unexpected? No pressure.
200 episodes of things.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Jen from Defying Gravity
Yeah.
was a really interesting one because she was a lot more free than I am as a person. In so much as I have never jumped on a bar and whooped and partied, and I've never been that person, right? And it doesn't mean that I don't have fun and I'm not full of joy. It doesn't come out of me like that. And I remember reading a scene that like she's slamming shots and she's dancing on the bar, and I was like, oh no, I don't know where to find that. And it was terrifying to figure that out, because it just was, I saw those people in college and I watched them and I was like, really? Oh wow, you're really okay. You're doing that. And I think that maybe it was that I am, contrary to popular opinion, fairly shy. Like kind of a bit of an introvert, so I have to the little organ grinder that the monkey pops out of. That's how I feel when I have to go to an event, when I have to be in a crowd. I'm like, okay, to not retreat into myself and be completely locked down, and then come off as like aloof or rude. But it's mostly because I'm just super awkward in big crowds. I'm good one-on-one with people. I get overwhelmed, and I take it like a job now. Yeah. When I go to an event, not in a way that it's arduous or anything like that, but then okay, let's see, how curious can I be about the people that I'm meeting? And I find that's so much more interesting to ask them questions, and because I don't like talking about myself. I don't watch the stuff that I do.
Oh, okay.
I do it. It either felt right or it fell off. It fell off. I'll ask the director for another take. I will watch it once to hate myself and wish I'd done everything differently. And then once if it's going to go on a demo. But other than that, I'm not sitting around like, oh.
No, you've put it away. What's next? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the work for me. You know what I mean? It's about the being on set, the performance of it. Someone told me that Dexter is re-airing right now, and they just worked through the whole series, and level 4. My daughter's a gymnast, so I was thinking level 4. Season 4 is one of the favorite seasons. And
the Trinity Killer. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, John Lithgow at the table read. Brilliant. I was like, could barely speak. I was so nervous. Plus everyone else on the show,
No, he was extraordinary in that role. And you as well. Yeah, that's right. Police officer who murdered her husband, daughter, and another person on Dexter.
Yeah, serial killers and dominatrixes seem to be like my wheelhouse, my specialty.
Your first appearance, though, in Stargate SG-1 was essentially as a goddess, though. And it wasn't one that we had seen before with the boombox voice and outlandish personality and, everything else. You portrayed a spirit of the Salish people, not the Salish from the Northwest, but the Salish from another world, a wolf alien named Takaya. And it was not something that if you were watching this cold, it'd be like, oh, it's Christina Cox. It would have been, is that Christina Cox in under that makeup? Tell me about this person and the makeup job and the air balls and everything that went in with it. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so where does one begin? Okay, so makeup. I think it was 3 hours to put on, but here's the kicker. It was 4 hours to get it off, because it wasn't a mask. It was appliances, sectional appliances, and those actually take longer. So it was a series of little air bladders that were lined up under the I guess, I mean, to me, they kind of looked gillish. They looked like a little bit of gills. So there was a little air bladder and then a tiny little tube that ran over my ears. And then all of the tubes ran down the back of my neck. And it was all like secured under the dress. But when I was walking and talking and they were supposed to be doing this thing, there was special effects makeup artist on his hands and knees crawling behind me with like turkey basters pumping the bladders full of air, but the bladders kind of went crinkle, 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 and I'm talking and I had to wait for the crinkling to stop so that I could speak and you could understand it. And I remember on the second day, one of the producers came up to me and they said, "Hey, one of the things that we really loved in your audition was you have a lower voice for a woman, and it's a bit husky, right? Like it's a bit more raspy, and we're wondering why it sounds so different, and if you could, speak in your normal voice." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I'll totally get right on that. I'm really sorry. I think we're gonna have to loop this because I have a really squishy nose. I mean, look at this. Look at this squishy little nose. I broke it twice, and it just got compressed by the prosthetics. They were able to loosen it up a little bit by the third day so that it didn't push my nose down so much, but I had to loop most of that.
I can't believe that they would approach you and say, yeah, can you not play like there's a whole thing holding your nose down? Yeah, I mean, come on.
It wasn't in a malicious way or anything.
No, I'm
they
sure.
were puzzled. And I was so busy navigating and stepping on the poor bastard with the turkey basters, and like also is he looking up my skirt, like what's happening, and trying to time the talking with the crinkling, that I wasn't aware how much it had changed. And then I listened to the way when I was speaking with the producer, I realized, oh, it's because my nose is pushed down because I have no bone at the end. We were all just really puzzled why it had changed so much, and then it was, oh well, of course. So I did do ADR for most of the first day, I think, and then once the guys adjusted the makeup, it was easier to talk.
Oh, so you weren't always like this for the entire...
Just on the first day.
I see. Well, got to get the kinks out.
Yeah.
So 3 days on set with that makeup.
Oh, a week. It was a week, I think.
Wow.
I have so much respect for people that do entire series in full face prosthetics. I don't know if I could do it. Like I had minor ones for Elysium, and those were easy. They were just like a little gelatin appliance with some blending on them. They were easy and they went on and off quite easily, but also 20 years later in prosthetic makeup. So I'm sure that it's all very different.
But someone like Doug Jones, who has run the gamut, he just has to have a Zen place that he goes in his mind.
Yeah.
Whatever chord bothered him in his brain, he found scissors and cut it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I chatted with him at the chiropractor. We have the same chiropractor. We were just random things that happen in Toronto. And he just has to, and I can't speak for him, but I would think you have to find a little room inside your brain to chill out while it's happening. My friend Andy Hallett, who's now passed, he was on Angel, and he had hours and hours every day to put it on, and his hands were also with the claws and the everything, and the full eye contacts. Like that is a level of self-regulation that I don't think most people understand. And the crazy thing is, it's harder to get out of it than it is to get into it. And that's the part where you start to go, I really got to get this off of me. I got to get this off of me. And you want to start pulling, and you really can't because you're going to pull your face off.
Yeah. Nana Visitor, she played a Bajoran for years. And for the first several shoots for us, she would pull her nose prosthetic off, and she has scars to this day.
Oh my
She
goodness.
learned very quickly not to do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But you want to know the other, are you going to ask me about the wolf?
Oh my gosh. Christina, I was seriously about to say, were you on set the day that your alternate form was there, the wolf?
Yes, I
Tell
was.
us, please.
Oh my gosh. You see them in pictures and you see them at the zoo and you think, oh, look at that big husky dog. No. The thing was enormous. It was so tall at the shoulder. Like I'm 5'6". I'm not a giant. But this was so much bigger than even the biggest Malamute, the biggest dog, maybe in the realm of shoulder height with a really, really, really big Great Dane, but gigantic and terrifying. And your fight, flight, freeze response, it kicks in when you see a wild animal of that big. And my brain just wasn't braining as it tried to process the size of that wolf. Yeah, it was nuts. And I
Wow.
stayed very far away from it.
Martin Wood shared a story about when she's sitting on the Stargate and they get the shot of the dog turning like this. He made a sound that went and got the dog, the wolf, turning its head sideways.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, no, this is not a domesticated animal, you know?
No.
That you can't train, you can get some stuff out of it, but you can't expect it to react like a Malamute or anything of that breed. And I'm surprised. Part of me is surprised that they let the actors near it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They could always hire another one. I had a mask on. They could just put someone else in there. No big deal. I don't know the story of that wolf and its trainer and how it came to be in the working with that trainer. So it may have been abandoned as a pup. Like I'd love to know the backstory of that actual animal. I was on another show called Blood Ties, and we had a Puma.
Whoa.
It was nuts. It was like its head was as big as a bread box, and they're the pit bulls of the jungle. They have the most crush power.
Yes.
And yeah, she was not impressed with. She did not want to work anymore.
Wow.
And,
Typical cat.
right? So finicky. But I could get pretty close to her. But Kyle Schmid, my co-star, he was in it. He was like going right up to it because it had a cable on, right? There's no like let the Puma out.
Okay, so it wasn't going to take his front of his face off.
No, it had the braided steel wire that they use for holding up like antennas.
Construction equipment.
That's what Kitty's leash was made out of, right? I think she was like tied off to a car or something with like two guys roping her in. It was nuts. It was
The cat's fully comfortable. The cat will just stay in its position. Hold for cat. Action.
Hold for cat. Cue the tiger pee. Because if you want the kitty to go, you have to. They take a little rag that's got tiger pee on it, and they piss her off, and then So then she'd start showing her teeth and getting angry, and I'm like, la la.
Well, I'm glad the wolf behaved on Spirits. Martin Wood, he's so cool. And that was one of his earlier shows. The man has never stopped.
Yeah,
he's just wild. What did you think of that story of an alien race that had freed the people of that world from its gold oppressors, but continued to live with them because they were shapeshifters, continued to live with them as their ancestors had believed their spirits had. You know, there was a symbiotic relationship. We can only assume that continued afterwards, even though they knew who they really were. It was a cool concept.
No, and I love that it's pulling from, the show's shot in BC, and that things like, the history of the indigenous people there are being pulled into the storytelling. And I think that would be, I'd love to see it done again now. Like, what would the perspective be on it now, and how you would, it's ultimately a folktale, right?
Yes.
It's the reimagining of a folktale that the spirits that these people, they believe that they embodied were actually real, but in a different way. It's really, I think it's really interesting.
We didn't see you again until season 5. there was an episode in season 3 called Shades of Grey, where Jack O'Neill appeared to, well, lose his shit and, get sucked into this organization, this Black Ops organization. And what was really happening was he was turning a lot of them, he was finding the moles in the outer edges of the people who were involved in the Stargate program. And by the end of that episode, they were all taken into custody. Now, this was the first time that this had happened in Stargate, to my knowledge, that extra footage was shot for an episode that was designed to appear like it had been shot in a previous episode. It was retconning the end of the season 3 episode, Shades of Grey, into the Sentinel. And in that, you were arrested and appear again, but for the first time, in the Sentinel as Lieutenant Kershaw. Tell me about coming back to the show 3 years later.
Well, I think there was, on any show when someone's appeared on it, they're reticent to bring you back again because it takes the viewer out of their ability to be present with you as a new character. But the fact that I had full face prosthetics and I had just finished a film called Better Than Chocolate at the time. Oh. That's why I was even in Vancouver. I hadn't been living there. I had only gone out to shoot this movie, and so that's why my hair was really short and blonde and straight.
Okay.
That was because it had been cut off for that movie, and I know my memory is it works in interesting ways, and I read a study about actors' memories, that because we have to load so much information in one day and then spit it out and make room for the next day's dialogue, that it really makes us have great short-term memories. But I also tend to scoop out things that happened on the days of those really intense dialogue days or whatever. Like something completely unrelated could happen at home and I won't remember it, but I can track it by my hair. I'm like, oh, I must have been here because that was when they chopped it off and dyed it blonde, so that was around 1999 or whatever it was.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was really happy to go back because my favorite characters are law enforcement and soldiers, and I really resonate with those that personality type or that archetype, and so I was thrilled to come back as a soldier. But I was, you're always kind of bummed to be the bad guy because you're not going to come back after that. You want to make sure you don't die, so there's a chance of returning or do something really terrible and not return. But it was, I don't know if you know this, if you've spoken to anyone else from that episode, we were shooting in a cave. There's a section in a segment, underground cave. Guess what day that was?
So I know that for Menace, which was shot around the same time, that was 9/11. I did not realize that the Sentinel was in production on 9/11 as well.
We were shooting on 9/11. And I go for a run every morning or a yoga class or whatever, and I got up at 5 or something, and I don't turn the TV on, I don't turn the radio on or anything. I got up, had my coffee, I went for a run, and as I was coming back, I think my call time was like 6:30 or something, and as I was coming back to my apartment, it just felt weird out on the streets in Vancouver. Like, it was too quiet. No one was out, no one was driving anywhere. It was just too still, which was unusual. So I went in, I thought, this is so strange, what's going on? I'm gonna turn the TV on, which I never do. Turn the TV on right as the second plane hit. And then you're just standing there in shock, watching this all unfold, and you go, are we going to go make a TV show today? So you call, and production, nobody knew what to do. No one knew how to handle it. And we all go to set, and we are standing around crying because we don't know what's happening. And we put the monitors from Video Village, we tuned the monitors onto the news, and my parents were supposed to be on a flight from Las Vegas, coming home from Las Vegas.
Oh my God.
Couldn't reach them. Like, it was just the most surreal day. And I don't think we got anything done. We stood around for a while. Everyone just sort of was like, well, what are we doing? Yeah. I think we wrapped early.
Peter DeLuise directed.
Yes, yeah. And Peter was just like, we have to be with this, right? Not making a TV show. And then we regrouped and ultimately we finished the show, and people had to find out, were there people okay? Because half the show's American, right? 90% of the people on the show are American, and as is Peter. So I had to track down my parents, and everyone was fine. But it was a really weird, surreal day. So I remember being in that cave very clearly and standing around those little monitors. Thank God they're the old TV monitors that you can actually tune, unlike the new digital ones, right? So that's the biggest, sorry to be a bummer, but that is the core memory of that episode, frankly.
Wow. No, I think it's important to tell these stories because I think it's important not to forget where we all were. Yeah. I didn't know you were on Stargate that day. I only thought that Menace was in production, but I guess they were shooting more than one at once.
Yeah, maybe. It's pretty ingrained in there, so yeah.
Wow. Man, oh man. Did you have trouble getting? You weren't flying back to the United States. You were staying up in Canada for that.
Oh, I was there at that time.
You were living in Vancouver at the time?
I can't remember. Maybe, okay. Probably.
Okay, but you didn't have trouble flying back to wherever you were.
No. Nor would I. My parents actually ended up getting on a train from Vegas, and I picked them up at the Vancouver train station, and they stayed with me until flights went back to normal. Yeah.
World changed.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
You are one of the few talent. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have talked with someone who they wanted to do another episode, and like we've seen your face. The audience knows who you are. And then you'll come across Garwin Sanford or there are certain actors who do get a second life with their own face in the show. Yeah. And that was you with Major Teldy in Stargate Atlantis' Whispers in Season 5. This is one of my favorite episodes of the show. And it felt like we got to finally see what Lieutenant Kershaw would have become had she not been corrupt. Frankly, a full girls unit is a badass idea.
I know.
Right? We took,
right,
15 seasons to get it, but we did. We got it. Yes. Tell me about leading that team.
I mean, it's just, before we went live, we were talking about how there are certain experiences that are just milestone experiences. And a big part of that was that Joe Malozzi just ran such a great set, and it was so much fun. And I made one of my best friends of my entire life, Janina Gavankar, was in that episode, and that's where we met. And we were like, oh, you and me, yeah, we're done, we're in, besties for life. And I say besties now because I have a 10-year-old. But we went to our weapons training, and I had done a lot of weapons work already at that point. And I hate that I can't remember the tactical consult that we had.
That would have been Rob Fournier.
Yes. So Rob was putting us through our paces with our guns and our postures, and it was when I learned that only amateurs do this, that they tilt their head, and he was like, put your head up! Yeah, it was great. It was great fun, because if you're playing those kinds of characters, I feel that you have to do your due diligence, and you have to respect and honor their work, because especially when you start to get to know some of them, because I've now been on enough shows where we always have a tactical consultant that's either, I did a pilot in Miami, and we had DEA and FBI and Miami SWAT, and they all hold their guns differently, and they all had different ways of doing things. And so everyone within this team that was like a multi-jurisdictional team had a different way of doing it. And I was DEA, so I had to, like, DEA goes into closed quarters, into houses, and people can be jumping out from doorways. It's a very different thing than, a cop with a Weaver stance. So I just was like, tell me everything, Rob, let's do this, let's go. And Janina was in the Star Wars video game.
She sure was.
She sure was.
Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah, and she was telling me that the movement work that they got to do on that, so that they were doing the proper, like, the roll through the. You can see this lights me up, right?
Of course.
So it was so much fun, and I had known Nicole DeBoer from Toronto from just auditions from the time we were 16 or 17, forever, but we'd never worked together, and she had her little girl with her, and that was really fun. A little one in the trailer door. Yeah, I think it should have been a spin-off series, but that's just me.
I think it could have worked as one, or at the very least, like a limited series or miniseries or something like we've got now, because it was an interesting group of people. They all had their own distinct personalities, despite the fact that we only had them for really just, like a half an hour of screen time when it really boils down to it. But everyone kind of had their thing. I felt bad for, David, who played Vega? Who was it who played Vega? She got offed so fast, but that was a shock.
Yeah.
Let me for archive purposes, let me give her due.
Starts with an S.
This Vega. She was played by Leela Savasta. Savasta is what you're thinking.
I was remembering her last name, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a bummer to have to kill her because we were all having so much fun and we're like, we're sorry.
Here's your ratchet pull. That's the new hook for the theater. You're out.
Right.
But no, it was an atmospheric episode. Did you guys? Did you feel the urge to cough through all of that, or was it something that you got used to standing in with all the fog?
Mostly I was worried about tripping on something and eating it.
Right.
But there's a couple different kinds of fog, and the atmosphere that they float in that you rarely see done anymore on set is a kind of choky. It's not a great tasting fog. I think it's made some sort of vaporized oil product, and it doesn't feel amazing. We had it on Reacher, and you kind of feel a little bit of it in the back of your throat. But I mean, it makes things look amazing, right? It gives it this tone. Then there's a mist that's a little heavier. You think rolling fog along the ground, but they want you clear up here. This was the guys where the effects team was just working their tails off to make sure it was at the right levels and that it moved right and didn't immediately fall. But they executed it brilliantly, I think.
Yeah, no, it's one of the most iconic episodes of the show because of the visuals. And I think that Stargate didn't do horror very often, but when it did it was pretty darn good. And this was one of those where there were only like one or two jump scares in it. I'm not a big fan of jump scares, particularly when there's a lot of them. Yeah. But if they are held back for specific moments, then it's really cool. And I think that was a great haunted house episode in that effect stage.
Yeah. I think I don't know if it's was it a blessing or a curse that it was so different. Right? In terms of if what we're talking about is whether or not we could have taken that squad and propelled them forward on their own arc. Maybe because it was such an outlier, it didn't make sense how to bring them back in because that episode felt so different. Because trust me, there was so much talk back and forth between the creative team and us and Janina and I and Joe about bringing them back, that it really felt like something that was on the cusp of, happening. And the fact that it didn't was really one of the big disappointments because I love my job. I love to be on set. That's why I do this. It's not for the for me, it's all experiential, which is why I can tell you more about the days of being on set and the people that I met and how it felt, rather than sort of look at the episode from the viewer's point of view. And there is a chemistry, an alchemy that happens on great sets. And that's the thing that I'm always looking for, is does it have that magic? And when we got together and we were running those scenes, I was like, oh, there's something good here. Like, this is really good.
When you come across a group of people whom you click with and whom you discover that you love to be with, I don't care if you're on a stage or if you are working in a Mexican kitchen, which is where I was when I was 17 years old. I loved going to work because I loved the people that I got to play with. And Janina Gavankar, I interviewed her shortly after that episode, and I fell in love with that with that laugh and that personality. She's just, and she wouldn't she, if I was like saying something that I was like uncomfortable with, I mean, she was like, veneers off, man, let's go. And that's how she was. And I fell in love with her. And so I totally get it. Tell me a little bit about Janina Gavankar.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Well, you need a whole other hour.
She lights up the room.
Oh, absolutely. She is so, it's a word I use in my world. I don't know if it resonates for anyone else. She's just so shiny. And, we were in totally different places in our relationships and lives. And she was in a girl band. She's a scholarship to university on a timpani solo. Like, I'm like, what can you not do? Right. She's a genius at everything she does that she wants to figure out. She does it at such a high level. And I'm like, I'm still learning to eat with a spoon. You just sort of stand back and watch Janina go. But we bonded over our love of DIY and like decorating and hiking. And she gave me some very serious, girl, what are you doing with that man talks? And, like really veneers off. She pulls punches, and she's been a huge part of our lives and my husband and my life. And, she's essentially my daughter's godmother. So yeah, she's just a spectacular person. I have tried to get her on the show, and I'm going to try again. Because we haven't connected since that episode aired in 2009. And I did a lot of interviews over at Gate World at the time back then. And I always think of her as one of those special people. There's just something, she has that X factor. There's just something about her. And no matter what she does, she is just she's extraordinary at it. Yeah. She goes full bore. Yeah. So. Yeah. Absolutely. There's no half measures. And I think that's really, I know it's certainly inspired me and pushed me to push myself further in seeing that quality in her. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I have a few more minutes with you for fan questions? Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Okay. We didn't talk to gravity. I know, but I didn't want to take up too much of your time. Yeah, I know. They start to fade out. Teresa, stop talking. Teresa MC, Christina, what was your favorite program to watch when you were growing up? What did you click with? Battlestar Galactica. The original. The original. I also had some really nice brown and light brown suede Battlestar Galactica running shoes. I am convinced they made me way faster. I tried to get another pair when I grew out of them, but they didn't make them anymore, and my speed just dropped. Oh, those Cylons, man, they're going to march after you. Oh, yeah, you get me. So I loved Battlestar Galactica. I loved Starsky and Hutch. Yeah. Dating myself, right? Dukes of Hazzard. I even had the car. I fangirled out a little bit when I met John Schneider, I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. And then I was really into going to the movies, probably more so than TV, because, there was one TV in our house and it was usually my dad watching the news. The original three Star Wars, most importantly, The Empire Strikes Back. I had the album of The Empire Strikes Back, the dialogue, and I could do that movie from beginning to end.
The radio play?
Yes, the Christina radio play of Empire Strikes Back.
So good. It is my favorite movie of all time.
Yes, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Blade Runner. Blade Runner is one of my all-time favorites. And I had an Indiana Jones phase for sure. Yeah, those were the big ones for me. It was Star Wars, and wanting to be in one of them. I would lie on the ground as a dead body to be in a Star Wars movie. I don't care. Whoever is listening, I'm available. I will literally, if you need me to just be a
No, the number of people who did full puppeteer prosthetics and they take their heads off a stormtrooper helmet, and it's Simon Pegg or the number, it was a huge deal.
My gosh. I have I got my daughter the Lego kit with Janina's character in it, the Lego Janina.
Of Iden.
And so my daughter puts it together and we send her pictures because now she's in LA and we're here. And our cats have decided that Iden is the best cat toy of all time. So we have one of our kittens is constantly running up to us and going, "Pah!" And it's Janina's head all the time. Funny. So I think, unfortunately, Janina lost her wig in the recent cat extravaganzas. I'm really sorry. I have to get another one. Yeah.
Ian brought this up. Chronicles of Riddick is one of my favorite films, and Ian also wants to know what was like being on set for that with Vin Diesel.
Oh, it was amazing. The
good
whole
film.
Yeah, it was good. I think it took us 9 months to shoot that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was epic, on an epic scale. The sets were amazing. And we did I did a lot of pre-training for that to look physically accurate for the role. And I really enjoy that kind of thing when you actually have time to create the character that you want to create, and it's not just rush, let's go, let's do this movie of the week in 15 days, that we had time in advance to work out the kinks. We had rehearsals.
Yeah.
And not rehearsals 5 minutes before the camera team came in, and it was really just a blocking. We came in for weeks in advance of shooting and worked those scenes. We had story meetings where everyone was making sure that the relationships made sense. And again, Nick Chinland from Chronicles of Riddick became a really dear friend. And I got to fly around and shoot really crazily big guns.
You sure did. It's an action film, but it's also a drama, but you want to make sure that the action is right. You want to make sure that you get that right and that everyone is taking care of themselves. So it's a great underrated film. I keep on waiting for him to do number 4. It's just a matter of time. But looking forward to that for sure.
We had and doing those sequences with a camera team that skilled, that high level, it's like dancing. And so for me, that's one of the reasons that I love action roles so much, is that it's a little bit of a way for me to express one of my biggest loves. I'm a mover above anything else, and so films like that really let me go full out, it's the best experience in the world. The guns that I had were Desert Eagles, and they were then had a resin epoxy kind of extra shell on them to make them look futuristic, and they were so heavy that after about 6 or 7 hours of shooting that sequence, the noses started to go down on them because I couldn't hold them up anymore. And
I'm doing the best I can.
You're holding 2 12-pound weights in each hand, running around, right, all day long, and then they started to droop, and the guys were like, "Christina, get the tips up on the guns," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm trying," and it just was like, "Boo!" It was like the dowsing rod finding the water. I was like, I need a break. Yeah.
Man, but then taking them off, and it's just like you don't know what to do with your hands. It's just like it's going to take a while to get them back to life.
Feeling back, yeah.
Absolutely. Brian O'Neill Singleton, what acting crew was better to work with, SG-1 or Atlantis? That's not a fair question, but I figured I'd ask.
That's I mean, they're basically the same people, right? I mean, it's Vancouver, the crews. Yeah. Once you start working with a crew of people, they're going to move from show to show. I always connect with the crew. And obviously the longer, like on a show that you are a regular on, you have more time to build relationships. But they were all great.
Wow. Candy Mitch, last question for you. Has Christina gone to other speakers' corners in Canada? Speakers' corners? Is that ringing bells to you?
I didn't go to a speaker's corner. I was referring to Scott Speedman, using the speaker's corner at City TV to send in his audition tape.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
God,
I only remember the one at on Queen Street at the original City TV.
Okay.
I can't imagine what would happen if we had one of those now. Wait, we do have a speaker's corner.
That's it, right there.
Stop speaker's corner, whether you like it or not. 24/7.
You thank God for mute. Christina, this has been a real treat for me. What I would love to do. I need to get Janina on, so I'm going to reach out to her people, try again, and I still need to have Leela on one-on-one. But after I have done that, I would love later on this year to have all 4 of you back on for a Whispers reunion, if you would be game for that.
We do a watch party?
We can do that. Yeah, absolutely. But I would love to just sit down with you guys and have y'all catch up. Nicole, I've had her on. She's great, and yes. I'm gonna reach out to Janina's team again to see if I can get her back, because you guys created something very special in that episode, and it has continued to resonate with the fandom for 16 years since.
That's so amazing. I love that so much. Like that's the power of performance. It's the reason. One of the main reasons I got into it was in doing theater and feeling, like I was saying about audition rooms, that you feel the room change with you and because of you. And you feel the same thing on stage, and it's sometimes on set if it's if it's really like a big scene and it's really cooking. You realize the power that cinema, television, and art has to change minds and hearts and opinions. And I think that now more than ever, we need those voices. We need authentic voices, because we need help understanding what's happening in our world and how to relate to each other and our common oneness. And
Everyone has a story to tell.
Yes.
And I think that one of the reasons that Whispers works as well as it does is because it's not just a piece of drama, but it's a piece of drama of people acting in it who enjoy being together. And I think that seriously makes a difference with the material, even though the material is in black and white. I think that it still comes through and it resonates. And you guys created, you captained a great team.
Oh boy, thank you so much. We could always do Whispers, the Golden Girls edition as well. Thank you for being
the friend. Oh man, absolutely.
Can you imagine?
Oh, it would be great. It would be great.
Maybe Teldy and her girls at the retirement home.
I think you're a little while off, though.
Pitching it up there.
Absolutely. Right. Well, if that's a yes, I will look toward getting all the folks together for later this year.
Okay, great.
But thank you for taking the time.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out and having me on the show.
Thank you, Christina. You take care of yourself, okay?
You too.
Bye. Go Bye. ISO. Yay! I'll email you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Christina Cox. She was Major Ann Teldy in Stargate Atlantis, and she was Takaya and also Kershaw. I got them all straight. Yes. on Stargate SG-1. Really appreciate you tuning in. It was terrific to have her. Really hoping that we can get all the folks together for our Whispers reunion later this year. This has been something that I've been cooking up for a while, but you got to talk to the captain of the team. You got to see if they're gonna be interested in that. Let's see what we have coming up here. If I can get my crap together. Let me pull this up here. Okay. John O'Callaghan, who played Neum in Stargate Atlantis, he's going to be joining us next Friday, June the 28th at 10 in the morning. Tom J. Astle, who wrote Core I, he's going to be joining us Saturday the 29th at 11 a.m. And June 30th, next Sunday, Tony Amendola, who played Braytac in Stargate SG-1, he's going to be back on the program. So this is a great lineup of folks that we're going to have for you. And then I'm going to take July off, largely off, but we will be having pre-recorded episodes that I have had planned that are going to be playing throughout the month. I will have 1 week of live shows before I go off to San Diego Comic-Con, but that is the current plan. So my tremendous thanks to my moderating team. We had Anthony, Summer, Marsha, Jeremy, Tracy. You guys make the show possible, and I cannot do it without you. If you enjoy the episode and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, please click the like button. It makes a difference with the show and will continue to help us grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend, and if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few weeks on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. My thanks goes out to Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web, who keeps DialTheGate.com up and running, Bryce and Eagle SG, Matt Wilson. You guys keep me in animated goodies, and we're going to be having a few more heading your way next week, a few more ships that you haven't seen before. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I'll see you on the other side.